You're listening to Brainwork Framework, a business and marketing podcast, brought to you by focus-biz.com.
Welcome, everyone. It is so good to have a CTO, a CBO, and a CEO of multiple companies here, SimFly, Jada AI, and Blockchain Zoo. Really excited to dive into your IT journey. Roberto Capodieci, great to meet you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So tell me about your journey in IT. How did you get so smart and then start working for so many companies? Where did it all start?
It all started when I was a little kid. I had this intro to IT. Thanks to my father, he has this program calculator that could be coded in BASIC. So if he was writing, "What's your name?" and I reply Roberto, then he was nice with me. If I reply another name, says, "I don't want to talk to you." So that fascinated me, the fact that logic can be implemented. And I think I was 5 years old, so that when it started. And I was lucky enough that at the time, because I know I look very young, but I'm 50 this year.
No way.
I look 50, unfortunately, but at the time, computers were at the early stage, so video games and things were not so fascinating like now. So the bridging between playing a game and coding a game was very small, and I crossed it, and that's where I started. I was lucky to be in the right place at the right moment as I grow a little bit older. There was a shop in my town, not far from my home, when I was 8 years old, the first shop in the city that was selling computers, and they didn't know how to fix them, but I could go there, put my hands on them, and then the computer would work. So I got my first job after school, going fixing computer at age of 8. Then I getting hired in another shop when I was 10.
Wow, that's incredible. So early on, you discovered this passion. You were just absolutely fascinated by this technology and you wanted to learn and you were ambitious and you decided, I'm going to take some action. And being 8 years old, helping in a computer store or a place where they didn't even know how to fix computers, that's pretty incredible. Now, fast forward a bit with like schooling, did you follow an IT career path? You mentioned more about being in the right place at the right time. How does that come into play here?
Well, in education, there was no way to be in the right place in the right time because there was no such thing like a school that would teach IT or computers. So I dropped out of kindergarten, as I used to write in my in my LinkedIn. Truth is that, yeah, I was sneaking in. I dropped the school because I started a business when I was 14 with the authorization of the Court of Minors because I was underage, and it became a full-time thing. So I started working well. But when I was around 20, I had a girlfriend that was doing business administration. So I was sneaking in the university, pretending to be a student and following classes with exceptional professors. So that's been quite useful for me as well. It was useful also that my father was director of a large group of companies. So it was allowing me to stay with him during meetings and other things. A combination of things that moved me from sitting and coding, which is a passion I have still of today, to managing businesses around it.
That is incredible. Now, for someone like yourself, it seems like your family is pretty well to do. You're well off financially, but you weren't just happy just sitting around and not learning anything. You wanted to grow, you wanted to learn.
Yeah, this is another interesting point. My parents were not really getting along very well, but at the time you could not consider divorce. So they were still living, co-living the same house, but not really talking to each other. And as a little kid means that if my father said no, my mother would say yes, and vice versa. So until one day, I think I was about 7, they must have spoken to each other and agreed to say no together, and that changed my life. So I needed to do something to keep my lifestyle as it was. So I started setting up small shops. If I was in the US, I would have had lemonade stand, to say, but to start selling my used toys, making promotion. So it really moved my need to produce an income in order for me to be able to afford what I was before given. It's been an interesting set of events that came all together.
Well, it sounds very familiar to American households with the divorce and parents not talking yes and no. It happens. I think that's just human nature and how things happen. And you mentioned all these companies that you're working with. Can you tell me
Yeah.
more about what it is that you're doing in those companies and what they do? I see one is a flight simulator for enthusiasts, blockchain technology. I don't even know what AGI stands for. Tell me all about it.
All right. So really moving to the recent years, I spent the last 10 plus years working on decentralization of 15. So before blockchain, I started implementing the centralized system on peer-to-peer networks, and then brought me into blockchain as well from the early days until Apex to a very huge project that really took a toll on me, both financially and in terms of stress. So I took a sabbatical, which became 2 years of sabbatical at the end. Then I started mentoring startup, which brought me to get to be part of this play to earn project, which I would have never joined any play to earn because mostly are not really ethical. They are borderline with scams, but this one actually made total sense. It was super ethical and it works in the real way that it should work in terms of play to earn, which should be close to work. And so I became almost full time. At the same time, I always kept myself up to date. I started working with the neural networks about 7, 8 years ago. So Intel came out with the USB stick that had the neural network inside to be trained. And I started working with that. And I'm fascinated about artificial intelligence. I think anybody that uses ChatGPT 4 cannot be not fascinated. It is something that is close borderline to magic, right? But one of the big aspects of it is very centralized. It runs in a data center that is now in our hand. And there are methods to run your AI in your own computer, but it's not really everybody's accessible. So I thought that we should decentralize artificial intelligence. So we should bring the model of a blockchain, which is decentralization peer-to-peer network, to AI. And so I found that this marriage with Jada AI, which is an AGI, as you say, general intelligence. So it will be something that means it's like a brain of a person, a Black Mirror style, if people saw that. But that may work also in a peer-to-peer network. So where the synapses are not just in a neural network in a data center, but are actually physically in a peer-to-peer network where this brain is made in small pieces among many, many computers. So this is one of the things that I'm working on. Blockchain Zoo is the company where I took the sabbatical from, where there is this project of a new layer one model. So very difficult words for the normal people, but practically is a system to the centralized application, which I'm applying to these other things that is much more advanced.
That's so exciting. One of the best things about early technology is the adaptation period and figuring out how we want to use it. There's so many different use cases. I'm sure when blockchain came out, there was this rush to figure out what does it do and how can this help people and businesses? And same for Chat GPT as well. These tools are just incredibly fascinating. Like you said, they work like magic. And from someone who is a coder themselves, to hear you say it works like magic makes me feel a lot better that I don't understand how it all works. It just is magic, right?
Even people at the OpenAI, at the ChatGPT company, knows very much what's happening there, which is scary in a way because there are a lot of ethical and philosophical questions that are raised. I had myself a very weird experience with ChatGPT, very, very borderline to going like, whoa. And it is something that made me really think. So I deepened my study into the mechanics, but there is not really an explanation for things still of today. There is the logic of trading, there is the logic of how it works, but hardly there is a full explanation on why certain things happen, which is an interesting thing, I think.
Wow, that is absolutely fascinating. I love technology. It's incredible, but I'm more of an end user. I don't know the inner workings of how things work. But I love use cases and trying to apply technology to either people or businesses. This feels like another revolution. This is like a technology revolution with the advancement of all these tools.
Unfortunately, not all humans go to the same speed. So when certain people innovate on one side, the rest of the population of the planet take a long time to catch up. Mostly when it becomes a matter of regulation and governments, because that's are the slowest correctly, because they have a lot of work to do to assure that what they do is proper, right? But if you think simple things about education, when I was a little kid, either you have an encyclopedia at home, if you were a little bit wealthier, or you have an uncle that knows all of the answers, or you go to school where the teacher is going to tell you about something. Today, knowledge is at the really fingertip of every person. So you want to know whatever you know. And the paradigm of education should be completely shifted if you think about it. In school, they should only teach you how to focus and study. They shouldn't teach you the subject themselves, because it is a slowdown if you take classes that are more and more bigger now. Like when I was in school, we were 15 in one class. Now they are about 40 in a class. How a teacher can go to the speed of all the kids when you have a slower kid and a faster kid, right? So you end up punishing them. Artificial intelligence will customize lessons to each kid, based on their interest. Somebody like soccer, I can teach you math using soccer, rather than I can teach another kid that like to dance, math through dance, for example. I mean, and geography and history and everything. And it's a tool that is not the future. It can be done today very easily, but who is doing it, right? So maybe some more schooler tech futurists.
Maybe
don't
that
know.
should be you. That sounds like a fascinating use case to personalize lesson plans for students. Imagine how much more hands-on and interested the students would be if focused on a subject that they really love, like the history of dancing,
Absolutely.
geography, like that would be incredible. And now you're engaging more students. Let's start it up. This is a
Well,
business plan.
somebody throw a couple of million, we do the website and the marketing for it, and
You got it. It'll be a team effort. I can't assume you want to run 4, 5, 6, 7 businesses. It's a lot of time to put everywhere.
Well, ask Elon Musk how he does, right? I think delegating and trusting the right people is a key element. In fact, that's one of the elements that maybe artificial intelligence cannot teach us, but the experience in life can. Understanding who is somebody we can trust, understanding when somebody is ethical person rather than not, which are difficult, because usually people that is very creative trust everybody because they don't want to have filters in their things, so they're most susceptible to be scammed, to be victim of people taking advantage of them. So yeah, probably we should have this small gadget, this small mobile app that tells, oh, avoid that person. Oh yeah, there's a good guy. My mom was this application. I can bring home 20 girls, she's a 9, and marry her. No, 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 no. She had this capacity of, even for business, when she met people at the business, don't know. She's like, Mom, what you're telling this guy's amazing. Comes out 2 years later that the guy was stealing. So she could see people well. That's in a capacity that I unfortunately haven't developed. It would be
No,
very
but
useful.
that sounds very useful. I was just speaking with a colleague a couple of weeks ago about how can AI be used to benefit the elderly. And we talked about what if there was a program on your phone that could scan for known spam numbers or emails or offers or links that could warn you saying, this seems like a scam. Make sure you trust it, in a way to prevent some of the scamming that's been happening. But something that you mentioned in general is what AI can teach us. Now, if we have this tool at our fingertips that can answer almost any question ever, what should we be teaching in school? Is it critical thinking? What should we teach?
Oh, yeah, I think we need to pay attention to use everything as a tool, as an instrument, and not as an end, right? Because whenever we find an end in one of those technologies, we are in trouble. It is social media, which people get addicted to. Everything is an instrument to go to an end. The end is something we need to decide. Then we find the right tools to get there, right? So I think that's one of the things that we should educate the kids about, from like, you have a fortune of possibilities that your generation didn't have. Probably they had others, I don't know, but use the tools to go where you want. And you see, at 4 years old, 5 years old, I knew I wanted to be this IT geeky genius, okay? And I had a brain 8, 9 over 15 years old, and it remained like that since. So it never full of food. My brother knew want to be a psychiatrist since he was a little kid as well. My other sister, she liked dance, classic dance. But I had a friend that until the 1 week before he subscribed to university, had no idea what he wanted to do in life. And yet it was between astronomy and medicine. but now he's an amazing doctor. So does it mean that because you don't know what you want, you cannot be good at something? It is two different drive. One is the passion that you build on something. It's all unknown, right? We have so many paths we can follow, but once we follow one, we don't follow the other. And it is what I think today the opportunity, the paths to be followed are unlimited, and probably this make people more spoiled and less prone to find something exciting to do. I don't know.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, there's a big shift in the motivation behind why people work and where they want to work and who they want to work with and what the subject is about. And what's great is that we do have these opportunities to shift and pivot based on career paths or what we enjoy or don't, because over time we change as people and we find different interests. And it's great that people can explore those different opportunities and continue learning. It's just about finding their passion, right?
Yeah, it reminded me of two things, two interesting aspects. One, when I was, I think, 8 years old, I wrote this composition in school saying how this kid had no toys whatsoever. So he used the cap of a pen to be a rocket, to be a small car, to be whatever, right? Then he received a small toy car. And so the cap of the pen can become everything but the car because he had that. Then somebody removed the car to him, and the kid is unable to play with the cap of the pen as a car because the car already being identified. In these terms, more we get from life, less we are able to find the imagination. I live in Indonesia, in the island of Bali. It's already 20 years that I'm here. When I first arrived, I rented a small room and I had this amount of ants that were going to eat my food that was in this small, sort of like a shoe rack that I use. And I try any DDT poison and things to stop these ants. And I failed that they will anyway find a way up. A friend that came along says, "Oh, no problem." She take a 4 small plate with water, put the 4 leg of these things inside the plate with the water, and the ants could not go through because they cannot cross the water. And I felt so stupid. And I said, I come from this civilized country. I'm so intelligent. And in front of such a silly solution, like you put the stuff with the water, you don't need to poison the planet with the DDTs and stuff. And this is why, because if I never had all those other system, probably I will find a solution. So this is probably today's danger, like having so much at our reach, we are more limited with our brain to come up with new ideas or find a, new solution to things.
Yes,
That's,
that's it. It's a big concern. Where is going to be the originality, the critical thinking of the more simple solutions?
right.
Typically, we're trying to find the path of least resistance. However, just that example there, and there's many, many others of examples of where we are taking a long way around trying to figure out a solution when it was under our nose that entire time. But I think it also stresses the importance of always be learning. You didn't think, okay, I'm the smartest guy ever. I can't learn from anyone. I'm not going to ask how to stop from ants. This was more about how can someone else show me a different perspective, a different solution, and that actually opened your mind up.
Right. Yeah, but it's a big defeat for my ego, right? I am the one finding solution where people pay me a lot of money for finding solution for them. And then I fail at these simple things. So yeah, yes, for sure. We have a lot to learn by looking at others, even where we don't want to put a penny on somebody, where there is always something to learn. Even in the negative, somebody doing a mistake can teach us not to do the same mistake. But it takes a particular approach to life to be
Yeah,
able to do that.
absolutely. Now, with everything that you've accomplished in life, you love learning. What is something that you've learned throughout your life, your journey, that you would want to tell other entrepreneurs to either start with this or try this because you have the 40 years of experience already? What would you share with other people who are in IT or business owners, people trying to learn more?
But in learning in terms of providing a solution, I think the capacity to shape shift, to pivot, as you want to say, along a business that seems to be established in many years is key because the world around us is changing fast. I remember again in my city, this photographer with the arrival of all this digital camera asked me to set up all the digital photo retouching computers and things. All the other photographer that is big Kodak machine where you put the roll inside and the print comes out, Homer Simpson kind of job, press the button and serve the client. They all closed down because people abandon that, and those remain with their old the vintage things they do at home with the AC and things. So being able to understand that the things are changing and follow suit, that's important. There are classic example, blockbusters and others. So I think that bravery is what make an entrepreneur. Like if you don't buy the ticket, you don't win the lottery, right? If you don't try, it can go well, it can go bad, but at least you did try. So not to be afraid, I guess, to try and fail.
That's so
It's never
important.
it's never a failure. It's always a lesson, right?
Yes,
They say.
absolutely. People focus too much on the negative outcome that could happen from something as opposed to use that as a learning lesson. You'll be happier that you at least tried it and then failed, but that's a learning opportunity for you. I'm sure you watch a lot of videos, books, podcasts. You're soaking up information as much as you can get. Is there a good resource out there for other career people, business owners that have been a great resource to you?
Well, it's very individual, the thing, I guess. I am addicted to Kickstarter or whatever the was website, the most crazy idea. I think that would be a nice business to make a website parallel to Kickstarter or Indiegogo, where you can bet on success or failure of projects that are there, right? So you can say, okay, $50, this is gonna fail, or it goes well, lose them. I think that is an exercise to go and see what people think is valuable and how they approach the solution and things with respect to all the people doing that, because that's already put them in the line to be brave and try that. But sometimes you see things that is so clear never gonna work, but this sells a lot. Other things that are exceptionally good, but hard to understand for the consumer. So it is really always a challenge to mix marketing. They say the correct formula is 1/3 on technology, 2/3 on marketing, because without that, you will never be able to reach people interested. And to me, for example, this company of the flight simulator done SimFly as being mind blowing. When as being presented to me, I thought it was the most stupid idea in the planet. I had to completely change my mind, learn and understand, and it is incredible. So niches are exceptional places to tap in order to find people that invest in some ideas, in projects and things. Big and wealthy niches are even more so. That one is the case for it.
Well, that's fantastic. Kickstarter is a great place to go check out some new technology and see what's coming up. And I love the marriage between the two. You want to put Kickstarter like capitalism, new ideas, mix capitalism with gambling. You have the best selling American idea ever. Those are the two most famous things that we love here.
Yeah, and I think sometimes one thing that I love about the internet and all these things, I was watching YouTube that there is the cat that seems that talks, the guy that makes the music, then the other girl with the violin, and slowly composing a full orchestra, fantastic song, right? People take a mix and mash, and this can be done also with the project and ideas. So copying one to one is really not bad. Looking, mixing, having an idea, improving, and that's something that should be open and okay. So this patent world is a very particular danger area that limit the progress, evolution of ideas and technology.
I love it. Roberto, we're getting close to time. I want to give you an opportunity to share links or websites where people can find out more about you and everything that you're doing.
Sure, I love my LinkedIn profile is easy to reach. Is the classic linkedin.com/in/RC10. RC as Roberto Capodieci. 10 is because DH is 10 in Italian. So RC10 in LinkedIn or my family name, Capodieci. That's pretty much my username everywhere, all social media and other things. A shortcut to my website, but it's horrible, is rcx.it.
I love that. That is a great link to use. And we'll have links available down in the comments and notes section so you can get an easy access link right to Roberto to learn more about what he does. Roberto, Your mind is incredible. I love your accomplishments and everything that you've done. What is in the future for you in the rest of 2024 and 2025?
Good question. I want to reboot and restart a very big project that I left sleeping 3 years ago, and that's one of my goals. I think if the SimFly offer an exit at a certain point, I'm gonna take it. But it's a money machine, the thing, so it's pretty good at the moment. Everything is okay.
That is fantastic. Roberto, are there any last thoughts or any last comments you want to share with the audience that is listening to this?
I would say just take it easy, take chances in life. Don't bet on your own business and things more than you can lose because this is exactly what it is, a bet. And if things goes well, I love when people reinvest the income in a business to make it grow rather than taking financing or taking investment because that's the proof that things are working. Make the planet a better place for everybody. That's the mission.
Roberto, I want to give you a big hug, man. You are the absolute best person. I'm going to fly all the way to Italy or wherever you're hanging out now and come visit you
Bali.
someday if you're okay with that.
Absolutely. Come to Bali, come to see me. Uh, Bali is a fantastic destination. People come from everywhere in the world, so why not?
Perfect. Well, Roberto, thank you so much for joining us on this episode. Again, we'll have all the links down in the description. Congratulations on all of your current success and all your future success. We wish all the best for you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me.